Hey gorgeous, welcome back to Life in Style. Today's video is going to be a tutorial, if you will, kind of get ready with me on this green smoky eye that you see right here. What I really wanted to do more than anything is use this new palette from Raine, which is called Cheers to the Beauty. I hauled this in a previous video and was absolutely dying to use these shadows. So I used several of these shadows, also bring in some Makeup Geek single shadows just to do this nice green smoky look. And I absolutely love the way it turned out. I didn't know what to expect because I normally do not use green shades. I use like purples and blues, black smoky eye. That's kind of what I gravitate towards. But I really love the way it looks overall. I think it just came together very nicely. I can say that the palette is absolutely gorgeous and beautiful, and the colors that I used wear very well on the eyes and just blend out beautifully. So I do have to use obviously more shades from the palette, but the ones that I used today in this video, you know, just impressed me. And like I said before, I own a lot of Raine individual shadows, so I know that the quality is there, and this translated beautifully with this palette. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. As I usually do, I've already done one eye just in the spirit of saving time so that this video is not like 1,000 hours long. I have already primed this eye using my Milani eyeshadow primer, which is one of my favorites. I like the fact that even though it keeps my eyelids dry throughout the day, because I do have oily eyelids, so I don't have any pilling or anything, it still goes on very emollient and very smooth and soft like a moisturizer. And I need that a lot, especially in the winter, because my skin, most all over my face is dry, including my eyelids. So sometimes it's hard to blend out shadow. So for this, I didn't use any of my very matte type of shadow primers. I wanted to use the Milani, which I really like for that. I also set that down with the shade Powder Room, which is this one right here, because it resembles my skin tone, or as close as my skin tone in this palette. I am then going to pick up Razor Glass, which is this beautiful shade right here, to start carving out my crease. And the brush that I am going to use to carve out my crease is the Juvia's Place J125 blender, which is that one right there. So I'm going to pick up Razor Glass and I'm going to start carving that crease out. And like I always say, of course, if you've watched my videos already, this is very repetitive. But if you're, first time here on my channel, I always like to say certain things just to make sure that people don't miss things when they're asking, well, why are you doing that so above the natural crease? My eyes are hooded, so when I look straight ahead at someone and just open my eyes, a lot of the color is lost. So I have to make sure that a lot of my looks, if not basically every one of my looks, is always above the natural crease. I always have to carry that color up so that it's not lost. Now we're going to go straight into the shimmer shadow that I'm going to use, and that's going to be Grandeur, which is this green right here. Hopefully you're picking that up because the package on this is very reflective. When I did the other eye, I started using that shade without any Fix Plus, and it went on nicely, but with the Fix Plus, it really made a pop. So I'm just going to go straight into the Fix Plus. I'm not going to do it without it because it just wasn't as vibrant as with it. So for this, I am picking up my Smashbox Precision Concealer Brush. I love the fact that it is so pointed up top, and just the word precision is just what it is. So it gives me a lot of control as to where I put it, put product. I've never used this for concealer. In fact, I've always used it for shadows. So I'm going to put that green all over my lid. I'm just going to start right on the lid. As you can see, that's very, very vibrant. Very, very pretty, almost like a peacock type of green. And then I'm going to start carving out the crease there. So I'm going all on the lid. And then I'm going to start pushing it up. And so to test that I have enough color where I need it, I will look straight ahead in the mirror. And as you can see some green, but a lot of it is lost. So I'm going to pick up more of that color Grandeur. I'm going to put more on the lid, and then I'm going to bring it up even further. As you can see, I'm also bringing it out a little bit, so I'm kind of carving out a little point there at the end of my eyelid. So that's much higher, which is better. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a fluffy brush and I'm just going to start blending the very top of that green because I don't want to lose too much of that color, but I certainly do not want it to be so harsh. I want to make sure that all the lines are blended very well. And that's nicely blended to the way I want it. We will go back and add more of this color towards the end, but I want to start adding the other green colors that I have. So I'm actually going to put aside this palette for a moment, and I'm going to pick up a couple of individual Makeup Geek shadows, which are really beautiful. So the first one I'm going to pick up is Dirty Martini, and that's what that looks like right there. I am going to pick up my Juvia's Place 127 Precision, which is just a bit smaller than the one we used earlier. I'm going to pick up that shade, tap off the excess, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in the crease and start blowing that out a little more. I'm going to pick up a little more of that shade and I'm going to go back in and do the same thing. And as you can see, I'm doing basically windshield wiper motions there, just back and forth, just making sure that I build up that color very nicely in the way I want it. These shadows anyway, Makeup Geek shadows, are really very good. And as you can see, the color payoff and the light building up doesn't take a lot to get to a nice shade. What I'm doing as well is I'm bringing it up a little farther, just with whatever color I have there. So I'm kind of blending it out at the same time, but also bringing it up a little more. I'm going to grab that fluffy brush again, and then I'm going to blend it out just at the top again to make sure that the lines aren't too harsh and everything looks really nice and blown out. Then I'm going to grab another Makeup Geek shadow, and that's called Enchanted Forest. As you can see, it's still green, but it's just a bit darker. I'm going to grab my Sigma Blending E25 brush. This is just like the travel size, but it's the exact same size like brush bristles on the head there. And I do have a couple of these in the full size, but this is just what I had down in my beauty room, so I went ahead and grabbed it. So I'm going to saturate my brush with that color, as you can see there, tap off that excess. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start up top here just on the outer V and really make that V dark, and then start smudging into the eye with the same color without adding anything else. I really want to smoke that corner out. I'm going to go back into that same color, get a lot of color on that brush, tap off the excess, and do the same thing, because once we start blending, you will lose a little bit of that color, so you want to make sure that it's nice and saturated. And as you can see, color payoff is amazing with these shadows. I really do like them a lot. I have a lot of Makeup Geek shadows, and the reason why people speak so highly of them is because they really are good. So then I'm going to take that fluffy brush again, and I'm going to commence with the blending. Like any smoky eye, no matter what color it is, if it's dark, even if it's light shadows, but especially when it's dark, you really want to blend out and make sure those edges are soft. So as you can see, you can probably tell from watching, I'm blending pretty hard. This is what I was talking about earlier, is that my eyelids tend to get very dry during the winter. So unfortunately, any shadow, no matter how good it is, will stick to certain patches, and it's just my eyelids. The way they are, it happens in the winter all the time. But we'll get there. I just have to keep blending. So that's blended out really nicely. I'm going to add another color to it to further blend it out and kind of lighten up the top there. I'm going to go back into Cheers to the Beauty, and I am going to go back into that shade Powder Room here because it's a lighter shade, and I'm going to go ahead and lighten up the top of that green. I'm going to stay in the palette. I'm going to go back into Grandeur, which is the green. This time I'm going to use my fingers. I'm just going to pick up that shade, and then I am going to press this onto the lid. Again, just to make sure that that green is very vibrant and still can be seen very well. So while I'm in the same palette, I'm going to go into Boutonniere, which is the white here. And it's actually an off-white. I did already use it on the side just to highlight the brow bone. And you know I use a stark white. I usually like that better. But this worked out very nicely. I did about 3 passes and I think it, you know, lightened up the brow area very nicely. So I'm just picking up, I don't even know where this brush is from, but it's just a kind of a small brush. I tend to use a smaller brush in that area so I can have more control as to where I put it. So that's the actual eyes done. I'm going to clean up under the eyes. I'm going to put on my winged liner and then we'll come back to finish off the rest of the face. We're going to move on to the rest of the face. I have cleaned up under my eyes. I've done my winged liner. I used a new brush today. Not sure how I feel about it, but we're going to work with what we've got. So I am going to prime the skin first. It is actually warm in the room that I am in now. So my skin is a little flushed in a way. So I'm going to use my Becca Ever Matte Priming Poreless Primer. And it's just because, again, my skin just feels a little oily because of the heat in here today. It's just, we have the house warm because it is freezing overall up here in Connecticut. Which I'm okay using that anyway because the foundation I have today is not necessarily a matte foundation. To correct under the eyes, I'm going to pick up my Urban Decay Naked Skin Color Correcting Fluid. I'm going to put a little bit of that under each eye just to combat those dark circles that I have. To blend that in, I'm going to use my Real Technique sponge as I normally do. I just use the point and I just start pressing that into the skin and kind of spreading it out just a bit. For foundation today, I'm going to be using my Bourjois Healthy Mix Serum, which I absolutely love. If you guys have been watching me for some time now, you know that's one of my favorite foundations overall. I am just lightening it up a bit with my Body Shop Lightning Drops because right now it's like a summer color that I have there and I'm a little lighter right now that it's winter. So I'm just going to kind of smear that over the skin. And I'm going to use a damp beauty blender to press that and spread that around. For concealer today, I'm going to be using my Maybelline Instant Age Rewind. I'm actually almost done with it. I don't know if you can get a grasp of that, seeing that there, but I just kind of want to finish it up. It's weird because I was so late to the game with this concealer. Of course, that poof up top is just so annoying as hell, and I think everybody says that, but it is a very, very good concealer. I'm going to use the damp beauty blender and start pressing that into the skin just with like the little chubby butt part of it first on the bottom, and then I will take the pointed end and start getting that close to my lash line. And I will also use it to kind of carve out the upper portion of the look there, of the eye look there. And to set the concealer like I normally do, I'm going to reach for my Anastasia Banana Powder just to make sure that nothing creases. I always set my concealer, even if it's a really good concealer. I'm going to be using my Juvia's Place J123 Tapered blush brush, but I love the way, because it is tapered, it gets under the eyes really nicely. I don't think I've ever used this for blush. It's not a brush that I would normally do that with. So I'm just going to pick up the powder and go right underneath the eyes and just set that down. Since the foundation is not a mattifying one, I'm definitely going to set the entire face with powder. Today I'm going to be using my Kat Von D Lock-It pressed powder in medium, which is one that I really like, and I'm going to be picking that up with my BH Cosmetics V1 brush, which I use a lot. It's a very fluffy brush. So I'm just going to pick that up and start pressing that throughout the skin to make sure that everything is nice and mattified. So now we're going to finish off the bottom of the eyes, and then we'll finish off the rest of the face. So I'm going to zoom you in so you can get a better sense of what I am doing. I'm going to go back into my Makeup Geek shadows, and the one I'm actually going to start with today is Secret Garden, which is somewhat of a shimmer. What I want to use that for is to start kind of outlining the lower lash line, and then build out from there with the other green shadows. And to get Secret Garden on the lower lash line, I'm going to be using my Smith 220 brush, which is this one right here. It's basically a flat definer brush, just a very big flat definer brush. And then I'm going to start putting that on my lower lash line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean off the brush, and I'm just going to start smudging that just a bit because I do want this nice and blown out. So I'm going to bring that down just a bit to make sure that it's a little more smoky. I'm going to be using the same Smith 220. I'm going to pick up Enchanted Forest, which is the darker green from Makeup Geek, and I'm going to do the exact same thing by picking that up. But I'm not going to go as close up to the lash line as I did before. I'm going to start smoking out the bottom lash line, but bringing it down just a little bit further. Then I'm going to grab a clean brush. This one is the e.l.f. contour brush, and I'm going to smudge that out even further to make sure that it's not so, that basically it's more blown out and a lot more smoky. Now, the bottom lash line, it's up to you, as smoky as you want it. I smoke mine out a little more only because since I don't have lashes, a lot of times when you start smoking that out, the lashes tend to take on the color that you put on there, so further helping that to look really nice and smoky closer to the lash line, but I don't have that luxury, so I will just blow this out as much as I can. I'm going to line the waterline. I usually do that in black because I just like the way that looks and the way it makes my eyes pop. I'm going to be using the Ardency in Monster Pencil, which is what I normally use to do that. So I am going to highlight the inner corner of the eyes. I'm actually going to go into the highlighting palette that I'm going to use for my face just because I thought it'd be a nice tie-in. This is the NYX Love You So Mochi highlighting palette. It's a brand new item, and they come in two different color variations. Let me hold it this way. You'd probably see that better. This one being like your pink, your light blue, and a light gold, and then the other one is a little darker in its colors, but I love this one a lot. I've already used the pink and it's absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to pick up the same brush that I used to highlight the brow bone just because it's small, and I'm going to pick up this kind of whitish blue duochrome, and I'm going to highlight the inner corners. So now I'm going to zoom you out so that we can finish the rest of the face so you can see everything that I am doing. I am going to bronze the skin today with my Makeup Revolution Ultra Bronze, which is this one right here. And I'm going to be picking up, as I usually do, my BH Cosmetics 114 brush. So I'm just going to pick up that bronzer and start bronzing the skin. I like this bronzer because it adds just enough warmth without being, overly dark or muddy or anything on the skin. It just adds that little sun-kissed bronze look to your skin without being too much. For blush today, I am using a new blush. I've already used it once, but it is very new to me. It's an Ulta Beauty blush. It's the Mineral Blush, and this is in Stargazer. This is what it looks like. As soon as I saw it, I was just all about it. And like I said, I have used it once, and it was so beautiful on the cheeks. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that to my cheeks. And then for highlighter, I'm going to pick up the NYX highlighting palette, and I'm going to go ahead and use that pink shade there because I absolutely love the way that looks on the skin. I'm going to pick up my Morphe M501 brush, which I usually use to highlight. Pick up that shade. You're probably picking that up. I mean, it is beautiful, so stunning. It just looks so gorgeous. And I'm telling you, it lasts the entire day. It's so beautiful. So the last thing is going to be lips. So before I do lips, I'm going to actually put on my lashes off camera because it's just going to save a lot of time. And then we'll come back and finish off with lips and finishing spray. So I went ahead and popped on my false lashes and also styled my hair a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and finish off with the lips. I'm going to be using one of my favorite all-time combos, and this is the Gerard Cosmetics Lip Pencil in Sheer and also the Hydra Matte liquid lipstick in Sheer. So I'm going to go ahead and line my lips. I'm also going to fill them in with the pencil and then put the liquid lipstick on it. Then I'm going to go in with the Hydra Matte Liquid Lipstick, which I have talked about this on my channel many times. It's one of my favorite, if not my favorite, liquid lipstick formula. It's a very comfortable, almost like moussey whipped texture. So that does it for lips, and I'm going to finish off with finishing spray, which is my new favorite, which is the Scandinavia Makeup Finishing Spray. This is the bridal one, if you will. This has been out forever, and I'm late to the game, but I absolutely love this. The mist is extremely fine. The smell on this is almost non-existent, and it dries down so quickly, which I love. So I'm going to drench myself and give myself a shower in this. It's lovely because you get a smell and then it's gone like literally seconds later. So if you're someone who doesn't like the lingering smells of a makeup finishing spray, this is a really nice option. So that is going to do it for this look using the Cheers to the Beauty, although I did add a couple of other shadows in there to kind of finish off the look. I was really inspired when I was looking at the Colored Raine palette to do the green because I do a lot of blue smoky eye, black, and purple. Green is something I don't necessarily kind of reach for to do, but I really was inspired to do something different. So I hope it's something that you enjoyed watching as much as I enjoyed putting it together. Thanks so much for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Also click the little bell so you get alerted as to whenever I upload new videos. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.